llamo Flor. My name is Flor Mayoral, and I've been doing this project for a few years. I started in 2007, and I was taken aback by a portrait that I saw, by a poster in a street in Guatemala, and there was a very nice, quiet young lady doing the sign of the silence, and underneath her it said, "En Santo Domingo no se toca el claxon." So the face and the sign didn't go together, and it stuck in my head. I kind of thought about it for a long time, and I kept thinking about, why was I continuing to think about this photograph, and why was I continuing to think about this woman, and the fact that the message and her expression didn't go together. And I started photographing people that, were doing the same thing, giving me a gesture of silence. And people at first would ask me, why are you doing this? And the truth is, I really had no idea at first. I had to think about why am I doing this? I don't know. It was an obsession of sorts. And then I realized that all of these people that would unite people in a single gesture that is universal, is understood by everyone, and is understood in every language, and it unites them in a single message. And people are in this silence most of their life. You're quiet most of the time. You're not always speaking. You're not always saying things. Most of the times we are absorbed in our own thoughts, in our own mind, in our own space. And it's a way of bringing together people that are, it makes us all human. Being quiet makes you human. I agree. And I think that sometimes when I make people be silent, it's a way of getting them to be in the same space together. And then I can put them up on a wall and I can have them have a conversation, because the minute that they open their mouth, then there's a divergence, and their language may not be the same, their religion may not be the same, the way that they speak is completely different, they may not understand each other, but in silence people can understand each other. And by the way, this is not a political message. This is not anything other than my way of expressing myself. It's really it, and I love doing it, and I'm obsessed by it. So whenever I walk down the street and I see someone walking that's dressed funny or strangely or has a very special face, and I always tell Marcelo, that's a silence. Let's see if we can get that person to do the gesture for us. Ay, tremendo silencio. I love that person's face, and sometimes you fall in love with someone's face and you have no idea who they are, but you know that you want them in your group of people and you want them doing this. And then I get to enjoy, after I take the photograph, I get to enjoy processing the image and looking at their eyes and looking at every pore in their face. And I kind of become friends with every one of these, and I kind of fall in love with every one of my photographs, because I spend so much time with them afterwards. I know all of them. Some people I don't even know their name, but I feel like I'm intimate with every single one of these people, because I have seen every one of their pores, and I hide all their flaws. I make sure that nobody sees any hair sticking out of any place that it shouldn't. If there's a pimple that I don't like, it's gone. Sometimes I do surgery on them. I'm a dermatologist by nature, so I remove things that I don't like, because I want them to be dignified. These people have trusted me with their image. They have trusted me with their soul in a way, and so I need to respect them, and I need to make sure that I portray them in the best way possible. This is not casual for me. This is very personal, and I want to make sure that I give each person the dignity that they deserve. Sometimes people are surprised by how they look. They go, I'm not used to looking at myself that way. It kind of surprised me. They don't tell me that they don't tell me, oh my God, it's amazing. They don't ever, very rarely do people say, wow, it's amazing. They go, I'm not, I never see myself like that. I was kind of taken aback by my silence, by my portrait. But that's what it is. They don't know, that I'm not showing them the original, that this is the best version of themselves, but it's still, to them, to me, I look through 30 or 40 photographs that I've taken of this person, and I look for the one that speaks to me first. So first things that have to happen is I have to sit there for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour. Sometimes I have to go back 2 or 3 times and say, okay, this is your silence. So we have a conversation first. Okay, this is your silence. And sometimes I go, Marcelo, what do you think? And he goes, no, not that one, this one, maybe. We have these debates over what photograph I should decide to make the silence, because it's important. It's important because the message has to be important. So once I decide that this is the silence, then I make sure that is the one that I want everyone to see, and that's what I want to show, and that's what I want people to take with them after they, when it doesn't matter who looks at it. I want whoever looks at it to take away my message. So I try not to change anything other than imperfections. I try not to change anything other than, the background, if it's not perfect, and if there's, dirt on the wall, and if the hat is dirty, and if there's a little stain on their shirt. I remove all that stuff. But what I really want for people to take away is the same message that I'm getting from that person when I take their portrait.
Speak a little bit about that.
No, I think the first time that, I saw a mime on the street, and I had to have him. Like, oh my God. So I didn't know how to approach him, I had no idea, because he was like dressed like this outfit that's fabulous. And this very, in a Pisa. I was in Pisa with my daughter at a meeting, and I was Luminata, and this guy was on the street, dressed like in this old, Louis the 14th type of outfit. And he was like amazing. So I figured, you know what, I want to give this guy some money. I have to have him. So I showed him a 20 euro bill, and sure enough, he did it like this. Like, oh my God, thank you. I found an answer to, whenever I wanted to approach a stranger or somebody who was, like I wanted to have as a portrait. And then, most of the time I just talk to people. I mean, I go, and I try to carry my card that says, the Silence Project with me, or I show them the back of my phone. And I go, this is what I do, because on my phone I have my silences. But it really starts a wonderful conversation, and guess what? Then you're sitting with your friend, and then the other one is there, and they all want to participate. Very rarely do I have people that say absolutely not. And sometimes my favorites are the people that do the silence, and then, it's been a few minutes and I'm doing something else, and they go, listen, I want you to do it again because I have it now, I got it. Yeah, that was a warm-up. I want you to get the real one. So for me, those are my favorites, because they thought about what message they want to portray, or what message they want to convey, and they have internalized what it is that they want to transmit. So that to me is my favorite moment, because I know that I made them think, I know that I made them reflect on the moment, and I know that they want to give me a better version of themselves. I think we have a total of around 84 portraits in Coral Gables. And I also wanted to save a little bit of time and effort, so I gave them all my Coral Gables people, and they said no. We don't want those people, we want our people. Not your people, my people, no. So they wanted me to do new ones. And I would sit with the person very briefly. They would give me they would just make the gesture and leave. And sometimes, just to break the ice, I would say, hey, so what do you do? What do you do for a living? And, I know his name now, but his name is Steven Krams, and he goes, I'm in the movie business. So I took his portrait, and he had this beautiful head of white hair. He had a white shirt on and this wonderful look about him. So I took his portrait and I worked on it. And then when I was finished, I thought I didn't like his I think he looked too white for me. I did something wrong. I'm going to have to do him over again. The second time around, when I did him again, I realized he was giving me a message, because in his left pocket, he put a movie ticket to his cinema in his pocket that you could see through it. So I said, okay, so you're talking to me now. So I was having this conversation with him. I go, you're very cagey because you're doing this. You're not supposed to be giving me any messages, but he was. So I said, fine, I'm going to enhance the movie ticket so that people can see it better. So I talk to these people while I'm working on them, but I just love doing it. I mean, to me, it's just so much fun, and it's so much. It's pleasurable, and it's exciting. And each one of these persons is an individual that I know a little bit better. And like when you see someone on the streets and you think you know them because they're on TV all the time. I think the same thing. I think I know them all, but I don't. people are curious and they figure, they don't know what this is about, but I think it's a conversation piece. It's fun to see all these faces and wonder, well, what happened? And sometimes people say, oh, this is not about politics, right? No. Is this about me too? No. It's not about anything that you think it is. It's about whatever it is. It doesn't really matter. And when I started posting them, I would look for a quote that actually would match the face, and I would look for a quote that matched the gaze, and I would look for a quote on silence. So I've spent a lot of time looking for quotes on silence and matching the quote to the person, to the individual. So I do that a lot too. So after I work on them and I'm trying to, let's say if I wanted to post it on Instagram, I'm always very interested in looking for the quote that speaks to me, that goes with that face and that gaze. And maybe I'm completely wrong, but I make up my own story about them, like people make up their own stories about my art. You know what? I had someone that said, hey, I moved away from Miami. I love your project. I want to be part of it. Is it possible? I said, are you kidding? Yes. Yes. I didn't say, wow, of course. I said, yes, absolutely. So this young woman who had moved away for a while, moved back to Miami 2 weeks ago and went to my office. Of course, I do Botox. I do all these, I do cosmetic procedures on people, and I do, that all day long, every day. So I said, sure, come on in. And when you come in for your treatments, we'll do a silence of you. And it was, so I took her photograph in my office because I have a photography room, and she's on one of these walls. I'm not telling you who it is, but I said, you know what? She lives in the Gables. She wants to be part of it. I'm going to put her up there. And I thought that, that was such a nice thing that she wants to partake. So I wanted to make sure that because she wants to be part of it, that I honor her wishes and I make her one of my silences. When someone has a hard time communicating with me or doing it, and they don't feel comfortable, and I go, do me a favor, close your eyes. And I want you to think of something that you want no one to know, and then open your eyes. But I want you to do this first. I want you to close your eyes and put your fingers up to your lips, and do not open your eyes until you think of something you don't want anybody to know. Just tell me. And then, in those photographs, those are amazing too. Those are like, okay, I get it. Or maybe something that, makes you sad that you haven't talked about for a long time. But truly, if I say that one, some people go, they make fun and they try to poke fun. But truly, it's about your inner self. It's about giving me something that's within you that you don't often share with others. Well, and tomorrow I'm going to Aruba, so there's going to be a cultural exchange between Aruba and the city of Doral, and they want me to do the Silence Project there. They want me to do it for Fashion Week. They have a title to their fashion show every year. This time, the title to their fashion show is Break the Silence. So they saw that I do the Silence Project, and they said, hey, yes, would you come? Of course. I'll pay for my own way, thank you. But yes, I want to do this project with you, and I think it's a wonderful thing that it's taking a different direction. But I would love to see this, in other places and other cities. And as a way, for example, here it's been a way to unify different organizations, came together to bring this to the city of Coral Gables, to improve the community, to improve the look of the empty stores in the area, to try and bring some business to Coral Gables, and also to benefit the Coral Gables Community Foundation. So part of the proceeds from this will be to benefit the Coral Gables Community Foundation. And I think that to me is the best thing that has happened with my project ever, which is amazing that it would bring people together and use this as a message to help others in Coral Gables. I did this in Alicante. I did this several times in Miami, in Wynwood. Every year there was a little house there that was about to be torn down, and it took 3 years for them to tear it down. So every year would redo the installation in a couple of businesses in Wynwood also. And I went to Cuba last year during Noviembre Fotográfico, which is a festival, a photography festival they have every year in November in Cuba. And the director of the Fototeca had a little bit of difficulty because, you know, there's always something political about not being able to speak, or something political about me too, you too, or whatever. So it was really a very difficult moment for him. And, you know, I commend him for being able to let them do this there, because it was a very big building, an outdoor space. It was 3 stories, and there were several rows of this. And you know what? It was very nice. It was very impressive to me to be able to see all of these people doing their silence together in one space. And I tried to make sure that I did not take with me anyone that spoke politics with their face. You know, people that were known to be, you know, people that speak up against the regimen. People. I tried to figure out every other way that they would not take it as anything political. So I have to adjust my exhibitions depending on where I am and depending on what people think I'm trying to say. Because unfortunately there's censorship everywhere, and my photographs are censored no matter what. So I have to walk around different political situations, and I'm sure that I'll come across that again. When I did the exhibition in Alicante, they decided to use my project as an outdoor exhibition in large format. So I had to pick 5 people. And, you know, I had to pick my favorites, I guess, my best, my most telling, and my most diverse, because I wanted them to understand that my project is about everything and everyone. So I picked my 5 favorite people that don't really go together, but they do. So, and that was, those were, you know, photographs that were 4 feet by 8 feet, and they were sitting in front of a museum, and they were there for about a month. And it was really, you know, interesting to see people walk and then look up at these gigantic photographs. It was great. It was great.
But I think it's fun, you know.
Well, you know what? I'm getting old. My children are about to retire me. I think this will bring me another life, another endeavor for the rest of my life, and I think I can do this. I can click for many years to come, I hope. So this is really a wonderful way of me to segue into a second career, into another thing to do while instead of sitting around knitting or something like that. I mean, I plan on being active forever.